Continue.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
This might be a little bit different because we are on the top of the mountain and we're not real sure how our service is going to hold out. So far, it's been good. We've been chit-chatting for about 20 minutes. So we're going to kind of co-host with Kevin and Lateran. One is that they'll be able to pick up the slack if we drop off. But two is that Kevin has also been to Tony Robbins, so Kevin and Jennifer will be able to kind of chit-chat back and forth a little bit as well. We're super, super excited to hear from Jennifer and hopefully Joanne Boyles. They went to the Tony Robbins event. And anybody that goes to events like this really comes back pumped with just a ton of motivation and inspiration and just a lot of tips and tricks. So we're really excited to hear what Jennifer has to say. And Jennifer doesn't have to go to Tony Robbins for us to be excited to hear what Jennifer has to say. So, all right, take it away, Jennifer. You're muted.
That was it. You didn't hear it? I'm done. Somebody holler at me if Joanne jumps on because I don't want to not see her come on. Yeah, so we just got back from Dallas. I just got back. I know that Joanne got back today. We left Dallas yesterday, and because of the thunderstorms all over the United States, our planes were delayed, and it took us forever to get back. So I know she's probably exhausted. I am exhausted. Tony Robbins events are indescribable. Well, if you've been to a doTERRA convention, you may be familiar with that nonstop energy that you get. Like you get there and you go from 8 o'clock in the morning until 6 o'clock at night with no breaks. And then you talk with your roommate until about 2 o'clock in the morning. And then you do it all over again for like 4 days in a row. And you just wonder where you pull that energy from. And it's because doTERRA is so awesome that you just, at least for me, you just keep going, absorbing as much information and meeting people, and it's exhilarating. Well, a Tony Robbins event is a lot. Sorry, is that me? Beep? Was that me? Did anybody else hear that ding? I don't know how to turn that off. Hopefully it doesn't do it again. I just got a new computer, and so I don't know how to make it mine yet. Joanne just texted me and said that she's having technical difficulties, so hopefully she'll be on soon. So at Tony Robbins event, we got there on Wednesday night. We registered, we got our name tags, and then you start the next day at noon, which was really nice because it lasted until 2 a.m. And then Friday, we started at 8:30, and we didn't get out until 11:30 at night. One break that was like 44 minutes. And if you want to leave to go to the bathroom and stuff, you can, but you just go nonstop. Saturday was probably the hardest day because that's actually Tony's last day with us. He's got some voice issues, and so he only goes as long as he can until his voice goes out. Saturday, we went from 9 a.m. until, I think we ended up leaving at 12:15, and it wasn't even over yet. We left because we wanted to come back early on Sunday for the individual coaching at 8 a.m., but because it went so late the night before, they ended up moving everything up 2 hours. So Joanne and I got to the convention center at 7:30, ready to get in line, and we stood in line until 10 o'clock because that's just what they do. The reason I went to Tony, this is something that everybody's been asking me, like, why did you go to a motivational speaker? Which kind of just really irritated the crap out of me because I don't feel like I need to go to a motivational speaker. But one thing that I struggle with is my whole life I've been a very high energy person, and everyone around me has always been trying to put a lid on me. Like, shh, Jen, you're shouting, calm down, don't be so excited. Why don't you sit back here? Why don't you calm down? And I'm like, oh, am I embarrassing people? I'm sorry. Okay. Okay, be quiet. Which has just, killed my fire. And I've always had this internal struggle with how do I get how do I pour my energy into other people? And this seminar unlocked some of that, made me realize I need to be myself and I need to pour my energy into people, and don't put a lid on yourself. If you have energy, use it, get rid of it. Don't put a lid on it. Otherwise you'll combust. So that was really good. Up until, let's see, I was in Nebraska. I'm not even talking about the seminar yet. I was in Nebraska a month before I went to Dallas, and we'd go around town, and my mom would say, oh, Jen's in town. And people would say, oh, Jen, how long are you here for? And my answer was, I don't know. I could stay for 2 weeks. I could stay for 3 weeks. I could stay for 4 weeks. I don't have to be anywhere until the end of June to go see Tony in Dallas. And they would say, well, what's in Dallas? And my mom would say, she's going to see a motivational speaker. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I am going to a guy who's got his, oh, I have to stop. One thing that Tony does is he believes in the power of taboo words, and so do I. So if I say something that offends you, I'm really sorry. I use naughty words to get my point across, and that's, for so long, I'm like, oh, I need to be so much better about my language and the words that I use. And Tony's like, no, use the words that you're feeling, because it gets your point across. If you've got a point you got to get across, you get it across. So anyway, it drove me insane that my mom was telling people that I was going to see a motivational speaker, because a motivational speaker is like taking a warm bath. All right, I took a warm bath. Now what? Tony makes you walk on hot coals. So the difference is a lot different. It's huge. The very first day, we spent about 3 hours of learning and sorting out our thoughts, sorting out our feelings, and trying to figure out what our priorities are in life. And then we spent about 6 hours preparing our minds to walk on 2,000-degree hot coals. It's not just something, you don't just get the instructions, step 1, step 2, step 3. It's tear you down, make you meditate, make you cry, make you laugh, and then get you in a place where you feel so incredibly strong and so incredibly energetic that you can walk across coals, and then you're done and you feel so amazing afterwards. So how many people saw the news after the Dallas firewalkers? That was pretty nuts. And it was a eye-opening experience for me. I already know that the media likes to take things and spin it so that they get people to watch, and they get people to complain, and they get people to bitch and moan. After Joanne and I did the firewalk, there were people that were hurt. I will admit that. But there was not 30 people that had to be rushed to the emergency room. There were no third-degree burns. After we did the firewalk and got our stuff and we went back outside to the fire pits, I took it upon myself to be a first responder, because they're actually they brought maybe 2 or 3 ambulances up there and a bunch of fire trucks. And so there were people that couldn't get from point A to B because their feet hurt. So I got my lavender out, which this should just be a doTERRA thing anyways. Go to Tony Robbins events and take lavender and frankincense, and you'll build a huge freaking team. I had 1 bottle of lavender, and I anointed probably 12 people and gave each one of them my card. And I now have 4 new friends on Facebook. I got a message this morning from someone asking for what oil they should order. So I actually went to this event thinking I shouldn't promote what I do, because the last event that we went to that had Tony at it, it was a network marketing event, and there was a rule: no recruiting. Don't wear a shirt that says your business. Don't hand out business cards, or don't recruit people or you'll get kicked out. So I didn't take enough stuff, but this was definitely an event where you're supposed to shout it from the rooftops. Like if you sold It Works, they wanted you to sit over here. And if you sold Arbonne, they wanted you to sit over here. And I was like, where are the doTERRA people? There were a few, but there weren't a lot of people building the business with doTERRA. But anyway, if you go to a Tony Robbins event, take your oils. So I'm all over the place. This is my problem. I get so energetic about stuff. I get lost in what the point I'm trying to get across. But I went to Tony Robbins simply because I want to help people harness their own energy, or listen to me when I'm telling them ways to harness their own energy. That was my biggest challenge. We got this big book that is, how many pages it is? It's 182 pages. And we went through every single page in 4 days. So there was lots and lots of content. And the stuff that I want to go over, I guess just for my personal benefit from this seminar, was when I went, I wasn't really sure where my priorities were. If someone asked me, what are the things you love most in life? And that's easy for me to say: my husband, my kids, my family. And then going from there, it's my doTERRA world. So my business, I guess. And then they said, okay, well, we need to break it into the 6 needs. And, I was like, I don't know what the 6 needs are. And the 6 needs are certain, like a person's needs for life, discovering your 6 human needs: the need for certainty, or the need for uncertainty, significance, love and connection, growth, and contribution. I'm not using my fingers right. I can count to 6. And so for me, I thought, well, why am I going to Tony Robbins? I was really confused going into it, because I didn't know if I was going to Tony Robbins to help my business, or if I was going to Tony Robbins to help my relationship. And so it took me all day on Thursday to figure out what were my needs. Because honestly, I wasn't sure. I knew that I loved my family. That's basically what it was going into it. But I realized that actually, like, my priority, my number one important thing is my health. I'm very driven by my health, and that's okay. Tony said that's great, because without your health, you can't love people as much as you want to love. So it was really cool to get kind of my life in order, so that moving forward, I know where, if I have these high energies and I'm going nuts, put those high energies into your priorities, not into the things that aren't as significant to you. And I guess, I don't know, I feel like the other thing that I wanted to get across when I came, I don't know, I'm all over the place. Sorry. I've got kids in the bathtub hollering at me. Hold on. Maybe they're okay. Miguel has a show in Nashville tomorrow night, so he's practicing upstairs, and I'm doing the Zoom chat. The other thing that I wanted to tell people when I got home from the Tony Robbins thing is that I felt like a lot of people were giving me grief before I went to this event, which is just so hilarious, because it's like, oh, I see you have everything figured out in your life. You're going to shame me for trying to improve the things in my life, but okay. I got some text messages from some friends telling me that I was nuts for walking on the coals, and I was like, I didn't know what to say to people. But it's cool, because on the last day, Tony says, here's what you say to those people. Here's how you go back to these people. And the stuff that Tony says, I don't think I even have the balls to say, but some of it was, my favorite one was, you wouldn't be able to handle it anyways. I don't think you should go to a Tony Robbins event, because I don't think you're strong enough. I really don't. That was my favorite one, because that made me think of 10 people in my personal life where I'm like, you know what? You can quit giving me crap about trying to improve my life, because you're doing nothing to improve yours. But honestly, I think that those people are the ones that need Tony the most. So if you're curious about going to a Tony Robbins event, it is worth every single penny. My personal favorite day was the last day, which is the day where he goes over health and nutrition and diet. And I knew Tony Robbins is a very successful person. He's one of the richest men in the world, and he's incredibly fit and incredibly healthy. But going into this seminar, I really had no idea that he focused so much on diet. and exercise and whatnot. So the last day, it was really, honestly, I feel like he could use a few tips from me, but it was a really great experience listening to him tell us things that I teach to my people, diet and routines and how to feed the body so that it can have the best energy as possible. And I don't know where Joanne, I was going to go over the diet stuff, and Joanne was going to go over her favorite thing. But since she's not here, there she is. I can't get on because I don't have a link. Hold on. I'm going to send Joanne a link. It takes 2 seconds to find Joanne. Are we recording?
Yes, ma'am. Just tell her to go to Rockstars. It's in Rockstars.
Yeah.
We'll take care of it. Just keep talking.
Okay.
We'll get it to her.
Hey.
I just sent it to her.
Thank you.
Because I want her to share some stuff, because I know that she had some breakthrough moments, and I don't want to share on her behalf. But it was really, really great for us. What else was I going to share? Oh, Tony's expensive, right? So these tickets were not cheap. And the cool thing is that after you go to one of his events, you can go back to the event for free if you work it. And so that's going to be the next thing that I do. After, like, this one was called Unleash the Power Within. I'm going to go probably to the next one that's in New Jersey or LA, and you can work the event. You get a cool t-shirt that says crew, and then you can be an usher, you can be a dancer, you can be crowd control, you can build the fire that people walk on, and you get to do everything for free. They're all volunteers. And so I think this event had like 150 volunteers. So I'm going to do that. So if you think something's kind of expensive, just think that you only have to pay it one time. And if you want to do it again in the future, you can do it for free. What else? Does anybody have any questions so far? I really don't have anything else I want to share until Joanne shares something. I guess one of my favorite things at the seminar that you can't guarantee will happen at every seminar is when Tony picks on one person in the crowd. He'll ask a few questions and people will raise their hands, and then he'll just go up to someone and start sorting out their problems. You know, what's going on with you, and what's the most important thing to you. And there were two examples. One woman was the most important thing to her, can't remember what she said, was relationships. The number one thing in her life was relationships. And Tony just tore that apart. He was like, why? Why relationships? Don't you know that there's good and bad relationships? Why would you say relationships are your favorite thing when there's bad relationships out there? And so then she would answer, and she was probably a 60-year-old woman. He broke her down to the point of admitting that she was always trying to get her mother's love. And she got pretty worked up and was pretty upset. And it was kind of like he was working through her multiple personalities. So we're standing on one side of the room working on stuff. And then he said, all right, we're going to walk across the room. And now that we're over here, we're going to talk about something else. And they made progress in her life. And so now he's building her up. And so he said, now what was that lady's name over there? Well, you know, like the sad and the one who's always trying to please other people and will only love other people so she can get love in return. Like, what was her name? And so we gave her a nickname. And then he said, okay, so this person over here, this is crazy bitch. Like her name was Veronica. Like, I want to see the crazy bitch in you. And so then he built her up. And in a matter of probably 25 minutes, she went from a very insecure person with problems with her relationship to this woman who was dancing in the aisles, who pulled, she was an older white woman. She pulled this young, buff, black man out of the audience and was dancing with him, and they were playing music, and it was so amazing. And she had this huge breakthrough to the point where she didn't even look like the same woman when he was done with her. And it was just so awesome to see her go through that transformation live, because you don't know what to expect. Because there was at one point where I thought she was going to chew his ass because he was being kind of rude to her, but he was working her in the right direction. There was another woman, he asked everybody, raise your hand if you suffer from depression. And, people raised their hands, and then he said, who's depressed right now? And this was middle of the day on the first day. First day? Yeah. And this, he picked on one girl, and he asked her 8 or 9 questions, basically knew exactly what she needed. And I could never explain it the way Tony did, or the way that he went through it, but he took her from being completely depressed to being free. My favorite part was how she said that she was in an abusive relationship back in Colombia. She was from South America, and this left her with a hole in her heart. And he stopped her and he said, stop that. You're lying. You're lying to yourself. Where's the hole? I don't see the hole. You've made this up, and you're choosing to believe it, and you're going through a pattern of depression. Depression has a pattern, and you're slouching your shoulders and you're bringing your head down. He's like, show me what it looks like to be depressed. And so she started doing all this stuff to be depressed, and he started yelling at her, and he's like, oh, you suck at being depressed. Show me what it looks like to be depressed. And she went through the steps more and more and more. And then to the point where she was just bawling. And he said, here's the reason why you're depressed. You're from Colombia. And then she started kind of laughing. And then he started asking her pretty ridiculous questions that the whole room was like, oh, can't believe he said that. And it was simply because he was trying to break her pattern of depression. Because if you do the same things, you'll get the same results. And so he broke her pattern, and he actually asked her, have you ever had an orgasm? And she's like, what? Have you ever had an orgasm? And she's like, yes. And it broke her pattern, and he asked her more questions and asked her to do other things. And literally within 25 minutes, she was smiling and she was happy. And he asked her if that hole in her heart was gone. And she's like, yeah. She's like, it was never there. She's like, it was just a story. And then touching base with her 2 days later on Saturday, and he asked her, are you still depressed? And she's like, no. She's like, I don't think I'll ever be depressed again, because I don't know if it's the public humiliation or just the way he talks to her. I loved the live transformations, and you never know what you're going to get at a Tony seminar, because everybody's different. You never know how honest they're going to be, or how raw they're going to be in front of you. So that was my favorite part in terms of the live thing. Hi, Joanne. Oh, you're muted.
You have to unmute yourself.
If you see the little microphone.
Yeah, I'm unmuted. Hello. Sorry it took me a while. What all did you talk about, Jen? Just the two
I
people you
talked.
spoke with?
Yeah, and I talked about a little bit about why I wanted to go to Tony, and the 6 basic human needs. That's about it.
Yeah, that's good. I'll tell a little story about why I went to Tony, and then we can kind of tag team. When we saw Tony at Eric Worre in December, I thought, man, he was so powerful and had such a strong effect on me. My husband had to go. And so that's when Kevin and Dennis went in March. Well, Dennis went and had such a huge experience that he's like, my wife's got to go. And so that's why I ended up going. And it was really a very powerful experience. I learned a lot of stuff. And kind of to mention what you talked about, Jen, the thing that really struck me with Tony was how he talked about how we hide behind our stories. Like, we get significance out of our stories. And so that's oftentimes the real reason why we never get the goal that we want to get, because we're really hung up on being depressed or being, whatever our stories are. And that was pretty mind-boggling to me because we all have stories, aka excuses, right? So, but yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about kind of jumping off of the 6 things of significance is in my mind. Okay, first of all, let me back up. I thought about what I was going to talk about, and then I was overwhelmed, and there were so many things to talk about. Yeah. So I'm going to try to just like the whole fear thing, that there are two big fears that we have that keep us from going forward. And one is that we believe our fear is that we're not worthy enough, we're not enough. And the second one is that we would not be loved if we go forward. So that was pretty powerful for me because I think processing through those, it really hit it on the head for me, both of them. And of course, what Tony does is where'd my partner go? What Tony does is he just kind of drives you down through those fears until you get to a place where you're so tired of them and so tired of living in them and you're so tired of the results of them that you are willing to just push forward and find a new power within you that will bring new results. So I don't know. I have a lot more to say. Is there anything anyone wants to hear? Any questions?
We want to hear everything you have to say, so just keep going.
Okay. So, I'm a psychology major, and I was looking the whole time, what was Tony doing? And really, because we get the criticism of Tony is that you go and you jump up and down, and it's all this rah, rah, and he gets you in this, like he hypnotizes you and sends you away, and there you go. And I really have to argue about that because one of the things that I learned, we do a lot of jumping up and down and a lot of dancing. But what happens is it gets us off of our freaking butts. And finally, we're exercising. That was huge. To exercise for 4 or 5 days felt like 4 days, whatever. Like that, just jumping and dancing and putting it all in was an amazing conditioning for my body. So I got out of there and I'm like, I can exercise now because I'm pretty old and it's not like, it's hard to exercise because I'm out of shape. So that was one really good thing because I think that's part of conditioning ourselves to stay in the state is to take care of our bodies. So it kind of gets you on that road right away. And then the second thing that I noticed, I'm going to go to the gnawing and gashing of, when we were all howling and crying and screaming, day 3, which was really the powerful transformation point. And what he really did was a lot of psychology to it. I mean, the man is brilliant, and he uses it and compounds it in a manner that takes you through all of your fears and all of your worst thoughts, and then he takes you a little deeper into them, and then he takes you even a little deeper into that, and even more deeper. And really, it only took people thinking about those thoughts the first time to get them bawling. But when he took you deeper and then deeper and then deeper again, and then push it and go one more time deeper, you're like panicked. I mean, there's no way in hell you will ever allow that to happen. And it's the most frightening experience I think I'd ever had. Grown people, a room of 8,000 grown people screaming and bawling and just in panic mode. And we get down to that stage, and then he begins to build us back up again, to come through those fears and to, imagine what would life be like if we hadn't chosen to live by our fears and come through there. It was pretty powerful because it gives you, the fears become powerless with that in mind. So that was pretty cool. Do you have any thoughts on that, Jen? I'm pushing it back.
Yeah. He went with your limiting beliefs. Like a limiting belief was really hard for me to come up with because I'm a very positive person, but I definitely have limiting beliefs. An example would be like I'm not good enough, or I'm not smart enough, or I'm too old, or I'm too young. And going into day 1, I wasn't even sure what my priority was. So it's really hard. It was hard for me to come up with limiting beliefs, but my limiting belief was I'm never going to learn Spanish. I just feel like my brain is not equipped for me to learn Spanish. And then you have to make a list of all the reasons why this limiting belief has hurt you in the past. And for me, it's prevented me from being able to talk to all of Miguel's friends and his parents and his family to learn about him. It prevented me from being able to have conversations with his grandparents who are now deceased. And Tony he cues you over and over again and gives you directions to go. And it takes you down, if you never change this limiting belief, what is your life going to be 5 years from now if you don't correct it? And, for some people whose limiting belief is, I'm never going to lose weight, 5 years from now, if you're still obese, what's that going to do to your health? And then he goes, in a course of an hour, he goes, okay, now 10 years from now, what is it going to be like? Are you even still going to be alive? He scares the shit out of people. And then he brings you out of that and works you back to a place where, hey, guess what? The time is now. In order to break these chains or break these habits is to reword your limiting belief. I can learn Spanish. Damn, just try. Or I can lose weight. And so then we worked through 3 strategies to do that. I was going to try and find those 3 strategies, but this book is so thick that I can't find anything that I'm looking for. But it's basically the behavior must change. It must change now, and it must change now. That's basically the 3 ways for lasting change. Don't wait until tomorrow. But it was pretty crazy to see 8,000 people crying, screaming, shouting, getting really pissed, but then turning it around and making the most of it and leaving Dallas, giving everybody high fives. Like, life is good. It was awesome. It's so hard to tell you guys about it.
I know. It's kind of embarrassing, actually.
I know. I don't have words.
Just a side note here. The first day, Tony, we showed up, I guess it started at 12 o'clock and it ended for us at 1:30 in the morning. And we got 0 breaks, 0 breaks. Tony did not stop talking for that amount of time and didn't take a break and didn't drink water. 0 breaks when that man's on. One thing he talked about, though, was the concept of burning the boat. And I really liked that concept. And the idea is, if you're going to make a change in your life, you need to burn the boat and never go back. Like, be on that island forever so that you're stuck there and you have no options to change. Because we oftentimes will start it, for instance, you talked about diet, and this is what Dennis and I did, and Kevin, I'd be curious to hear what y'all did, but diet's a really big thing for him. And so Dennis and I sort of took the idea, well, when we work through everything in the pantry, then we'll change our diet. Well, when we kind of convince the kids they don't need to drink milk anymore, we'll change our diet, instead of just no more milk. Sorry, it's almond milk now, it's other things. So burning the boat is really key, and it's super hard. And they talked about that with everything they did with us. Step over into this area, and now this is who you are, and this is what you're going to do. You're not that person anymore, and you burn the boat. It's over. Move forward and keep going. So that was pretty strong for me. They had the pyramid of mastery too, which was interesting because he's talking about, just like in the doTERRA pyramid, you start at the bottom as your base foundation, and then you work your way up to these 7 different elements. And the first one was taking care of your physical body, that if you exercise and you eat the right things, you can get yourself into the right state, which, hey, Jen, did you talk about the state at all, getting in state? Okay. I'll talk a little bit about that then before I talk about the pyramid. The first day, he taught us how to get into state. And that's really what got us over the coals, which, by the way, we're both successful firewalkers. But so the state is getting your mind in a place where it's taking over all of the negative thoughts and putting your body in a place of, I believe, just looking forward to where you're going instead of all of the trauma you've got to go through to get there. And so it's like, you focus on the goal and your why kind of thing. But your in state is right now. Physically, you've got your body up and rolling, and you've exercised, and you're moving, and you've got the endorphins kicking in. And that's getting in state, basically. And that's what he did to help us walk over the coals. So, Jen, did you want to say something? No? Yes?
Not really. But
Okay.
like repetition. He talked about a study where, not that he supports this study, but at University of Southern California, they put monkeys in cages and they put them in these, basically a straight jacket, and they use a machine to bend, like they hold down all of their fingers and they make the monkey bend his finger like 10,000 times because they're trying to train the monkey muscle memory. So this is like the monkey's move. And they're trying to see with different stimulus what they can do with the brain with just that one trigger move. And then when they let the monkey go after, I don't know how long, they keep the monkey tied up, but then he still does this. And like that proved their point of like muscle memory. Awful experiment. But Tony's point was find your move that gets you in this powerful state. And for Tony, his move is awesome. He just pounds on his chest. He hits his chest as hard as he can. Just, you know. And I'm like, that's a great move, Tony, but how am I supposed to do that? You know, hit myself in the throat. Like, how can I have a power move? So you come up with a power move, and I didn't really know what to do. So I just like made a fist. Like he said, if you don't have a power move, just make a fist. And so for the next 4 days, he would say, make your move. When it was time to get into a heightened state of awareness and energy. So you'd make your move, he'd say, make your move like 3 times, and then say yes. And now, seriously, today I was like so tired because we didn't get home. I don't even want to complain because I got home 12 hours earlier than Joanne did. But I was like, I'm just going to make my move. Yes, say yes. And like all of a sudden, we're getting the girls out the door and we're doing stuff and we're being productive. And even tonight for the call, I was like, it's my bedtime. I don't know if I have the energy to talk on the call tonight. I'm like, yes, I do. Make your move. So that was really awesome. So I've got my move now, and now I can make my move before I teach a class, or I can make my move before I call a prospect, and it just gets your mind in the right state. So find your move. And every time, you know, I picture myself back in college track. Like I had my move. It was with my pole, and I do the same routine every time. It's a lot like that. Just make your move so that you can get into this positive energy state, just so that you can pour your energy into other people. So make your move.
So the building on that triangle of mastery, the pyramid of mastery, it starts with the physical body, and it's with, you know, making your move and having your body in shape. The second thing to get in place is emotions and meaning. So having your emotions and your why in place. Having your relationships in order is the third one. And then having your time organized. So you're using your time well. Having your mission statement for your work or your career down, and then your finances in line, and then learning to celebrate. That was another big thing, Jen. I mean, he was really big about celebrating everything, including your failures, because your failures are not failures. They're information to move forward. And we don't do that. So like celebrating can just be, you know, well, what we did was we danced and we yelled and we went up and down and screamed, and it was pretty powerful, but we don't celebrate. And that again will help kind of get ourselves in the state, keep our minds in the right place to move forward and be powerful.
Yeah.
So, hey Jen, this is Kevin or Joanne. You guys were both talking and elaborating a little bit on changing your state. And I was just going to ask maybe if you guys can talk a little bit more about that, so that these guys can kind of understand why he teaches us that. I know Jen talked about to help prep for something, that she's to get excited for something, but like I had kind of a different take from that. So I'm just curious to see what you guys, if you guys can expand on that so people can understand.
Can I talk on that, Jen?
Yeah, absolutely, because I don't know what else to say other than what I said.
Well, okay, so my limiting beliefs are probably a ton bigger and wider than Jen's. And for me, getting in state is lifting me above those limiting beliefs. So like like, I mean, I can go, I don't know, I don't even know if I can say that. My limiting beliefs are that they're so strong in that they hold me back, in that I don't believe I'm worthy to succeed. I mean, it's really pretty deadly awful. And so to get into state and to learn to live in state and to keep my body in a really energetic model through what I eat and exercise is going to make me feel better, for one. And I think keep my thinking clear, for two. And then getting into state will keep me in a position of believing in myself when I normally would not have, and keeping my mind and thoughts focused on the things that I need to focus on to be able to be successful. Because what I do is I tend to talk myself out of them. I mean, follow through is really hard for me because, I don't want to bother you, and I don't really think you want to talk to me, and I'm sure you don't want these oils. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that goes on in my head. And so, people don't, if I don't call them, number one, they don't follow, they don't buy them. And then if I do call them and I have that kind of attitude, hello, they're going to go, yeah, I think you're probably right. I don't want those oils, So that's really important. And I don't know if that's speaking to what you were thinking, Kevin, but for me, that's what getting into state meant. And that's why it was really powerful for me, especially the physical part of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think this whole experience is entirely different for everybody that goes. I mean, when you're standing, just like you guys were talking about, standing in a room with 8,000 people that are, freely, showing their just raw emotion over anything and everything that's affecting them. And there's no way you can feel alone in this world standing there, or that you have it worse than anybody else. I mean, it's a pretty powerful experience. And, I use kind of the changing your state. I still use it today, mostly if I'm starting to get frustrated with something or, get upset about something. And it's easy. It's much easier now to just kind of, it's not worth getting upset over. It's not worth, all the frustration that goes along with it. I mean, it's so much easier to deal with a lot of those, emotions and issues nowadays. But I was going to ask too, what would be the single most important takeaway that you guys would have from your event there? I know there's a lot to choose from, trust me. That's why I had to make a PowerPoint, because there was so much. I was like, I have to there's so much to choose from. But
there is a lot.
If you had one thing to pick, what would it be for each of you?
Well, I have to say, for me, I need to go back over all the material again, because it's a powerful 4 or 5 days, and you were so dead tired going through it. Some of the things Jen said, I heard it, but she explained it, and it was like I heard it again. It was all brand new again. I think that for me, one thing that hit me kind of in the face was when we were getting ready to do the fire walk. I was paired with a gentleman, and we had to do the fire walk with somebody different. And I was surprised to hear he was sharing with me how he was really frightened about walking on fire, and he didn't think he could do it. He was pretty sure. He had some real fears he might not do it. And I was like, dude, it's first time we've been through fire walks all of our life. I mean, we've been doing this already. But what I realized was, I have this inner strength in me that is just like, don't tell me you're not going to walk on fire now, because you are, because you've been doing it all your life, and damn it, you're going to be on there. And it surprised me that came out of me. So I realized that I'm a lot stronger than I'm giving myself credit for, all this time. And I have, and I think that, the power of being in state and being able to take that and just really be able to generate anything in the world you want. I mean, for good, obviously, but yeah, that was probably for me one of the most powerful things.
For me, I think that so many things that I'm already believing were just reiterated. And my biggest takeaway was something that I'll be able to share with my team, in that when you're trying to do anything in life, the how comes second, but the why comes first. So as long as you know why you're doing what you're doing and the reasons are good, and you have your why, you could suck at the how, and you can fail at the how, and you can just completely do a shitty job at the how, but the how is going to improve over time because your why is going to be so good. It dawned on me, I was sitting there, he had mentioned something, if your why is good enough, it's like, oh, he used an analogy, but I can't remember what it was because I made up my own. But for me, I went to one of these direct sales company parties of my neighbors. I didn't even want to go, but I went. Well, here's a different example. I despise Tupperware. I despise plastics. I try to get all of them out of my house, right? And I went to my friend from my church's Tupperware party, and her why was so damn good. It was, I want my kids to go to ballerina school, and I want to save money so that I can send them to camp this summer. And I was like, oh, that's so sweet. Your why is so touches my heart. Yeah, I bought $84 worth of fucking Tupperware. So if your why is good enough, which, Lord, everyone's why with doTERRA should be good enough. One, I want to help people. And two, we have a golden ticket with these doTERRA oils for health and prosperity. But your why could be, I simply want to put my kids through college. Or your why could be, I don't know, just something near and dear to you. And you tell that to people. If your why comes first, the how can come second. So don't worry about if you don't have the resources, you don't have the knowledge, you don't know enough people. As a leader in doTERRA, you hear every single excuse in the book from the people who aren't building. And it's just like, I get really sick of hearing that bullshit, because that's what it is. And that's what Tony calls it. I get so tired of that bullshit, those limiting beliefs that, if your why was really good enough, that stuff would disappear. So that was my best thing that I took away, that I was just like, if I could just hammer this into about 60 people's heads on my team, then my job would be done. So that's probably my favorite thing, my biggest takeaway.
Awesome.
Someone had mentioned in the chat that they wanted to hear a little bit about the diet. And so I can zoom right through that if you want me to.
Go for it.
Okay.
I think a lot of people.
So we've got a pyramid. I was going to see, is this reversed, or can you see it?
No, it's good.
Or it's good?
That's good. We can,
Cool. It's backwards for me. Okay. So here's the pyramid. And since it's backwards for me, I got to read the bottom one. So the power of pure energy from the 8 gifts. And so I'm just going to skim over this because the diet part is really, really hard. But the bottom, it says vital breathing and lymphesizing. So you got to remember that cells run on oxygen, and the only way that cells get oxygen is through the water we drink and the air that we breathe. So when you're stressed, or when you're anxious, or when you're depressed, you're angry or anything, your breathing becomes slow and shallow. So you need to feed yourselves oxygen. So the first thing you got to do is breathe deep. And this, not breathing deep. Breathing deep is breathing from your stomach, your diaphragm moving down. So breathing without moving your shoulders. Breathing deep, filling your body up with oxygen. We did some breathing techniques, inhaling for 5 seconds, holding it for 20, and then exhaling for 10. What else? Lymphesizing. So your body uses the heart to pump blood all throughout your body. But then how does your body eliminate waste? The number one way your body eliminates waste is through lymph nodes, or the lymphatic system. But there's no pump for your lymphatic system. So you got to do things to move it. And movement is how you move it. So jumping on a trampoline is one thing that he recommended. But just getting movement in your body is how you get the lymphatic system moving. So the second thing on the pyramid is living foods and living water. To sum up Tony's diet is to eat 70% live foods, so fresh fruits and vegetables, foods that already have their water still in them, like apples and celery and things like that. And then the eliminating things, so eliminating processed fats, animal flesh. Tony is a vegetarian. Eliminating dairy products. These are all things that cause acidity in the body, and acidity is poison to our cells. So trying to eat as much green as possible. That's actually number 4, alkalinity. So number 3 on there, this was the part that just kind of drove me shit crazy, was number 3 says essential oils, but he doesn't use the right word. That's actually getting enough essential fatty acids, but he calls them essential oils. And so like I was about ready to like jump out of my chair and be like, whoa, essential oils. But he was talking about like fish fat. So he did a little commercial about, don't eat Crisco because that's death to your body, and eat something more like, omega-3s and omega-6s, and make sure you have a good source if you're using fish oil. I was like, Tony, that's not an essential oil, but okay. Number 4 is the power of alkalinity. So he went on and on about wheatgrass and juicing and getting enough greens. If it's green, if it's like naturally occurring in nature and it's green and you don't cook it, then eat it. It's what you need to be eating. Avoiding sugar. Sugar is another one that causes acid. I'm doing this really fast. I'm sorry, guys. Coffee. Don't eat it. Don't drink it. I went the whole weekend. That's a lie. I drank coffee on Thursday, and then I had a couple sips of coffee on Friday. This is not because Tony told me to. It's because Joanne and I decided, Jen, you're not going to drink any more coffee, because I'd take a sip and I'd instantly get a horrible stomachache, which I know better. But anyway, coffee's bad. It just is. I don't care how many antioxidants it has. I was like, I don't know, Tony. I don't know about that one. So I haven't had coffee for 3 days now. Doing good. Aerobic energy and power. Aerobic energy means exercising to a level where you don't get into an anaerobic state. Aerobic means with oxygen. So we did calculations of how to get your heart rate up to its what you're supposed to be at. So like to find your maximum heart rate, it's 220 minus your age, and then you take that number and find 70% of that. So for example, for me, I'm 34 years old. So 220 minus 34, let me look at my math. It's 146. So then 70% of 146, my aerobic range would be 136 to 146 beats per minute. So getting there and staying there for 20 to 40 minutes is all the exercise you need. Any more than that, and you get into an anaerobic state. This is the part that I love, because as a personal trainer, people want me to work them out for an hour. And I'm like, you don't need to work out for an hour. Like, you can spend an hour at the gym, but to have your heart rate above 150 for longer than 60 minutes, all like marathon runners, sorry, they're actually getting into an anaerobic state. And anaerobic activity causes lactic acid in the body, and it causes your cells to die. So I'm more about lifelong wellness. So I'm about keeping the cells healthy. So 20 to 40 minutes of physical activity every day to keep your cells happy and healthy and full of oxygen, because that's how you find energy. Marathon runners, the reason why they can go longer is because they can keep their heart rate below a maximum heart rate level. So I'm not dissing marathon runners, but some people try to be a marathon runner and they're burning through their muscles. Where am I at? Number 6 is maximum nutrition. That talks about eating organic. Don't eat crap. Don't eat stuff out of a can. One of my favorite things was he says that disease is the cure. And I was just like, what does that mean? I didn't think about it very much, but disease is the cure. So let's say that you all of a sudden have high cholesterol and you're diagnosed with heart disease. Disease is the cure. Your body's telling you, hey, you have high cholesterol. That's not the disease. That's how your body is magnificently dealing with the way you're treating it. So if you treat it differently, your disease will be your cure. You will no longer have high cholesterol if you live differently. But we all know that with doTERRA, because we're trying to get people off of their endless prescriptions that are just, covering up symptoms and not getting to the source or the cause of the disease. Hi.
Hi, Mom.
How are you? What was the next one? The next one is structural alignment and maximum strength. So this one has to go back to chiropractic, making sure that your body is in maximum alignment, not slouching, making sure that your ears are over your shoulders. Do you need something? Okay. If you exercise slouched over, you can't get maximum lung capacity. You're causing strain on your back and muscles that you shouldn't be putting strain on. And then the last one at the top of the pyramid is directed mind and directed heart. And I have to look at my notes to go over that one. But I mean, that makes sense, right? Directed mind and directed heart. Manifesting energy and vitality. Stuff like that.
Awesome. A lot of that can easily be controversial, depending on what especially some of the dietary stuff for some people, but it's good.
Yep.
Regardless.
He basically nipped every single argument in the bud. If someone said, yeah, Tony, but I need my protein from eggs, dairy, or meat, he came back with, vegetables have plenty of protein, and if you eat vegetables, your body can utilize plant proteins better than it can animal proteins without the uric acid, without the excess protein that your body doesn't absorb that takes a hit on your kidneys, yada yada. So that was pretty cool. And you look at Tony, I mean, he's a monster. He's 6'7". I don't even want to guess how much he weighs, but he's ripped as ever, and he's been a vegetarian for close to 30 years. So
yeah, he's a big dude and a vegan, and a vegetarian. It's amazing. Yeah. So we're pretty close to coming up on our hour. Does anybody have any questions for Jen or Joanne? Anything specific?
We didn't go over. High five.
Right, you're like right on.
That's the other thing. Give yourself high fives all the time. Just put your hand up in the air and then you jump. Give yourself a high five. Celebrate the little things.
Yeah. Feel free to unmute yourself and ask if you have a question or go ahead and chat it.
Oh, if anybody is interested in going to a Tony seminar, at the airport, I sat next to 2 crew members, and they said that if they bring people to Tony Robbins events, they get commission in a way. I don't know what the commission was. I didn't ask. I just drew conclusions. I didn't want to interrupt at that moment. But if anybody's interested in going, I'm going to be crewing. So let me hook you up because you get a free gift, and then I would get a free gift. So if you guys are interested in attending a Tony seminar, I highly, highly, highly recommend it. Here's the other thing. Tony's getting old. That man's been doing this for 39 years. His voice is going out. There's going to be a day where he can't do this anymore. There were people that brought their kids there, and it was so awesome to see 6-year-olds taking notes, taking better notes than the 49-year-olds. I don't know. It was nuts. There were 6-year-olds. There were teenagers. And it's because their parents get it. Their parents realize, Tony's not going to be around forever. So this is a magical, amazing, blessed experience that you got to take advantage of now, because his goal is to do this forever, but you got to be real and practical. So
it's definitely a life once in a lifetime experience if you only go once, but obviously your answer would be you're going to go again since you're volunteering, right?
I will be crewing again in the next year for sure.
That's awesome. When I was when Dennis and I went, there was a gentleman that spoke at the event who had been crewing with him for like 15 years.
Wow.
He was up on stage actually speaking. He had like an hour slot where he spoke, and he was probably one of the best speakers I've seen. And a lot of it, I'm sure, is because of the time he spent, just in and around the people that Tony is with. And maybe that'll be you someday.
So the next one you're going to is in New Jersey?
I don't know. I just thought that would be a good one to go to. I haven't looked at the calendar to see when the next UPW is, but that would be one that I would enjoy going to, because the other ones I've been to those cities. So I thought I'll go to the New Jersey one because I've never really stayed in New Jersey before.
Will you send me the schedule?
What's that?
Will you send me the schedule?
I'll look for it.
If you can find it.
It's online at his website.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Everything's on TonyRobbins.com. But yeah.
Any other, did anybody else have questions or any closing remarks? Joanne? Jennifer?
There he is.
Wow. Just try to go if you can. I mean, he's amazing. Look at there. He is.
Yeah.
I agree 100%. If you guys, I mean, it's probably not for everybody, and it sounds very intimidating, and it can be. I think that's big reason why a lot of people don't go is the prospect is very intimidating, but it will change your life.
Hey,
And
Tony.
if you want just the taste and not the full experience of Tony Robbins, you can go to GoPro and get a taste. He'll be at GoPro again this year.
Which is an awesome taste because he really puts his best material in those 2-4 hours. He does a great job.
Yeah.
You'll know at that moment if you need to see more.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you guys. I think we're going to end this recording, and feel free to hang out and talk if you need to.